If you've been thinking about starting your own coaching business, or you've kind of started, but you've been holding yourself back because you don't really want to be called a coach, today's video is for you. I'm dedicating it specifically to my subscriber, May, who prompted this video by asking in a previous comment. I am a corporate management consultant. I'm also seduced by mindset coaching as I'm very good at it, but the coaching label bothers me. So should I really just call it consulting and have two offers, one for corporations and one for individuals? That is basically her comment, and we are gonna get into it with 3 tips that I have for you today if you are in the same position where you're seduced by the idea of having a coaching business, the benefits, the impact, the income, but at the same time, that idea of coaching or being called a coach is kind of hanging out there and keeping you back. So with that, let's jump right into it. The first thing that I want to go over is I want you to think about it like this before we even get to reframing kind of how you think about it and what your options are, because I have been there, right? I think a lot of us have, especially if you grew up in a kind of corporate environment. You never really heard the term coaching. You didn't know any coaches, and it was like not prestigious or cool to be a coach. I've got you. First, though, we want to start with the other perspective, the perspective of what's smart and rational to do as a business owner who wants to succeed. With that perspective, think about it this way. Understand first what coaching is. Coaching is not a new profession. It is not something that just randomly popped up, although it might feel like it with all the influencer type coaches out there that you see nowadays. It's just the latest form using the tools that are available to us. But the truth is, coaching is actually a really respected profession. And if you Google that, you will find a lot of great books. I am totally blanking on ones I would recommend right now, which is, of course, what always happens. But if you do that, if you go to Amazon, How to Coach the Coach, I believe that is one of the books I was thinking of. You will see that coaching has been around for a while. Some of the most successful people in the world really recommend people having coaches, CEOs, executives, and this is not a new thing at all. I mean, there's actually a relatively recent book called The $1 Billion Coach, where a lot of the top executives in Silicon Valley credit a lot of their growth and success to having a great coach. So keep that in mind. Now, once you understand that, okay, coaching is a profession on its own, it's also not something where people just came up with this term to kind of have a way to think about selling what they know and do it as an influencer. Once you realize that, then you can really understand, okay, well, what actually is coaching? So I will give you a really brief overview here, but basically coaching is a profession where it's very different from consulting. So the words are actually not interchangeable, because the idea of coaching is that as the coach, you are guiding someone through a result, but guiding them to lead themselves, versus consulting is kind of you're saying, hey, do this and this. Now, that being said, as someone who's been in the coaching industry for the past 8 years, what I'm seeing is a shift where the term coaching has become more and more mainstream as really a combo of the two, where it's a combo of doing some coaching like that, but also doing some consulting, where a good coach, like a career coach, a mindset coach, a health coach, might guide you towards what you want, but also when the time is right and if applicable, kind of to say, hey, for example, if I'm a career coach, we helped you get clear on what kind of career you wanted. Okay, based on what you shared with me, I'm just going to tell you these are the best steps right now to go out there and help you get the dream job that you want. So a mix of coaching and consulting, which is why really what I say these days is that coaching is really nowadays more like coach-sulting. And so keeping that in mind, when you think about that, when you realize these are actually two separate things, although the term is transforming lately, that allows you to really own that, okay, this is a totally different thing. It's a really respected profession. There's nothing like new or not respectable about it at all. That should help you shift it. Now, with that, the last piece of this first tip, shifting your thinking and understanding of it, that I'm going to share is that when you think about what your ideal coaching clients are looking for, people who are actively looking for coaching, what they're typing into Google, what they might be searching for on social media. For example, with May's question, she was thinking of doing mindset coaching. Someone who's looking for a mindset coach is not looking for a mindset consultant. They are looking specifically for a mindset coach. And a lot of people who are dream coaching clients who are looking for a coach, they are searching for the term coach. They are looking out for someone who's calling themselves a coach, selling a coaching package, because that is the language that your audience is using. And so one of the most basic rules of marketing and business 101 is to know your audience and to know the language that they're using so that you can connect with them. And so would you rather call yourself something and feel good about it, but not connect to your clients and not make any sales because they don't understand what it is you're really selling? Or to say, hey, I'm in a coaching business. I understand this industry. I understand what this is now. And yep, I'm selling a coaching package. So hopefully that helps set some context for the entire coaching phrase and industry. Now, with that, let me get into tip number 2, which is to think about why the term coaching might bother you. I hinted at this earlier, and like I said, I myself experienced this. For about the first, I would say 3 to 4 years of my running this business, which is a coaching / course business, I did not call myself a coach at all. In fact, I actively avoided the term. And I will tell you the reason I avoided it and it bothered me was the same reason that I see for a lot of people. Now, there are a few groups, right? But a lot of it has to do with, well, it doesn't really feel prestigious. It doesn't really feel established. A lot of people might not even know what it is. I remember when I first told my parents that I was doing coaching. Now, keep in mind, they are very typical Asian immigrant parents. So, right, your children are either doctors or lawyers or engineers. I graduated as an engineer, so that gives you an idea. My parents were like, what is this? You're joking, right? Essentially. And so when your friends and family and maybe you have that belief, of course it doesn't feel good to call yourself something that doesn't feel like prestigious or cool, right? Now, some people maybe don't want to call themselves a coach because they feel like, well, I don't have a certification. Can I just do coaching? That is a whole other topic in of itself, which we will cover on another day. But I am just going to assume that you have the experience that you're able to help others with. And then as you do, what's going to happen is you will develop the separate skill of coaching others on it as well. And so that's all I will say on that for now. I actually will have another video for you on this in just a bit that I will share with you so that you can feel good about being a really good coach who is able to deliver results. But first, let's address this label thing so that you feel good about it too. So with that, understanding why does it bother you? Because once you understand what bothers you, guess what? You can go ahead and fix it. So for me, because it didn't really feel prestigious, I just owned it and I didn't call myself a coach for a little bit and let that handle that. Now, the thing to note is where we are in the coaching industry and how mainstream and respected it is very different from where we were about 8-9 years ago. And so nowadays, a lot more people know what coaching is. They understand that coaching is respected and that it's prestigious, and it's one of the fastest growing industries in the world. Very different place. So when you recognize that, you can be thinking about, okay, so with that different reframe, do I feel better about it? What will, and if not, what will make me feel good? Right? Is it calling myself something else? Is it calling myself just someone who helps people with this thing or other, an online business owner, or is it just waiting a little bit longer until coaching becomes even more mainstream so that I can feel that I'm doing something cool and prestigious and recognized? Because you know what? That's important. We want to feel good, and we should, about what it is we're doing and what we're being called. So think about that. Understand where this is coming from, understand what you're going to do to handle it without letting it hold you back from growing your business and getting coaching clients. That's the key here. And that leads me to the last tip that I have for you, which is super simple. And I hinted at it just a second ago. If it bothers you to be called a coach, don't use the label. I mentioned this earlier. For my first, I think 3 to 4 years in this business, I did not call myself a coach at all because it just bothered me so much. I mean, I had all these other cool titles before. I was an engineer, I was a corporate manager. Coach, not so much. And so I did one of two things. First, I made up a cool name for myself that sounded cool to me, but nobody knew what it meant. And the name I used for myself was business architect. I was like, this sounds so cool. I'm helping people with their businesses. I'm very precise and detailed. So, it feels like an architect. So I'm a business architect. You cannot imagine how many people ask me, what is that? What do you do? Why'd you call yourself that? All of that, right? And it was just cool, but it was confusing. And another basic rule of marketing, always better to be clear than to be clever. Nobody knew what a business architect was because why would they? I made the title up. And so I said, okay, this is not going to work. Took me 3 to 4 years to learn that lesson, but I learned it eventually. The other thing that I did was I just didn't give myself a title at all. I said, hey, I help people do this. For example, in this business, I help ambitious men and women build their own online coaching businesses so that they can escape their 9 to 5 and replace their salaries. Cool. Nobody needs to know that it's coaching, right? Like I don't need to call myself a coach to do that. So you can say, help people do this. I teach this. I create content that does this, so on and so forth. Now you can, if you want to get creative, use a title like strategist or alchemist or something like that. But like I said, try it if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it because a lot of the time it's just very clever, sounds very good, but people are like, what is that? And that completely defeats the purpose. Ultimately, honestly, when you really ground into what coaching is, again, it's a respected profession. It's very established, one of the fastest growing industries in the world, and what it can do for not only the people you help, in terms of completely changing their lives no matter what kind of coaching you do, and what it can do for your own life in terms of giving you more income, freedom, impact, flexibility, control than you can have in pretty much any other type of business, right? Coaching business compared to most other types of businesses is way higher profit, flexibility, leverage, scalability. I mean, there's so many advantages there. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide, well, do the pros outweigh the cons? And I will tell you, hopefully this video has helped you feel better that yes, the pros far, far outweigh the disadvantages, especially with how quickly coaching is becoming more and more mainstream. Now, with that, if you're thinking, okay, yeah, this sounds good, I'm feeling better about it, and I really want to create this coaching business for myself and for everything that you just said, then I have another really great video for you on the ABCs of coaching for new coaches. And I will share that video with you somewhere on the screen, so I will see you over there.